The Neon Demon, most recent film by Nicholas Winding Refn, who's one of the most interesting directors to have come up in the last 10 years. He's known for Pusher, Drive, Only God Forgives, and Bronson with Tom Hardy. He's very good, characterised by an interesting visual style, lots of vivid colours, neon, film noir sensibilities, quite lurid violence, and sort of Lynchian strangeness to his films, which is particularly characteristic in The Neon Demon. Some critics who acknowledged that it was a good film kind of stated that it was style but no substance. They said a lot of the appeal was on the surface. But I think it's a bit deeper than that. But perhaps you have to watch it a couple of times to really get that. I mean, the first time I saw it, I was a bit apprehensive because there'd been some furore in the tabloid press calling for it to be banned, likely from people who hadn't seen the film yet. But the film contained one or two particularly extreme scenes, or at least dealt in subjects that are still considered cinematically taboo, or at least cinematically enough to cause a bit of a stir. And the slightly squirming discomfort of some scenes, as well as the visual splendour of the film. That's what hit me when I first saw it, and perhaps what caused a little tension among the audience when I first saw it. When I had a chance to watch it a second time, then I was able to just sit back and appreciate the depth of the film and really what it was an allegory for. That it is deeply sad. It's an allegory for what happens to all too many young people, and imagine when going into showbiz that they go in there, starry-eyed, full of ambition, and they're ruined by it, in every way that a person can be ruined, and that's what happens without going into detail to the main character in Neon Demon. But there's truth in this, and it's the kind of sad story that plays out with many ambitious young people. The film's also got a sort of Lynchian strangeness to it, the strangeness in the way people behave, and slightly sinister and unsettling way people behave, whether it's a photographer or a talent agent, or, and in the case of Keanu Reeves' character, a very creepy motel owner. He deserves a special mention because Keanu Reeves, who's having what I think one critic coined the phrase the Reeves-juvenation. I mean, he's doing lots of diverse and interesting roles. He plays a really nasty piece of work in this, and he's played nasty characters before and done it very credibly, and shown his diversity in doing it by all accounts. He's a very nice man, but he's played villainous characters very well, even though we're more used to seeing him as the good guy. And he's very effective in this. I mean, he's only in it for about 10 minutes, but he's a very menacing and creepy, sort of lascivious presence. I mean, there's only very few, very occasional funny parts of the film, in the darkest sense imaginable. One or two of the funny, absurdly funny lines are given to Keanu Reeves during the encounter that he has with another character. So it's a cautionary tale and a very effective one, particularly for anyone with aspirations for modelling or acting, anything like that. I think it will particularly disturb people who've had a go at that or are maybe getting into it. Could be a very unsettling experience. And if it serves as a warning to any young people out there about what can happen if you're blinded by ambition and the way people can be ruined, and of course in terms of what happens in the film, not to be taken literally, but it's an effective cautionary tale. So there is more to it than what's on the surface, although what's on the surface is very impressive. Lots of dazzling imagery, vivid colours, and neon, as the title suggests, the kind of imagery we've come to expect from Nicholas Winding Refn. No use of strobe lights, a perfectly selected soundtrack that complements the film perfectly and helps with the hypnotic atmosphere which draws you into a very nightmarish world. It's worth mentioning the extreme content of the film. I mean, it would certainly earn its tag as a piece of extreme cinema. Apparently it was very divisive. I believe at the premiere or one of the early screenings of the film, it was met with a chorus of both boos and cheers from the audience. But it's also worth mentioning because of all this hoo-ha, in the tabloid press, certainly here in the UK, a bit of a fuss was made about the content of the film, and even, in one highly disagreeable article calls for it to be banned by someone. I'm not sure if they'd seen the film. I suspect not, the reason being that although there are what on paper probably sounds worse than it is when you experience it in the film, extreme and taboo material, which is, relatively brief, it's not dwelled upon, but it's also completely appropriate in context. I don't want to give away exactly what happens, but, if you're viewing the film and you understand what it's saying about the superficial nature of the kind of people and the mentality that you might encounter when you're, seeking fame and among those who are hungry for fame, then you understand what that extreme imagery means. And by that point in the film, you've grown used to the sense of what the film's about, and that you're in a skewed nightmare reality, So it doesn't even seem that shocking or surprising given the nature of the character. So not gratuitous, appropriate in context, not within a million miles of being a film that there should be calls for a ban on. I would hope really that no one is dissuaded from watching the film. It's not the kind of nerve-shattering experience that's going to preclude anyone except the most sensitive or squeamish from watching it, so that shouldn't put anyone off. When I first saw the film, I'd been impressed by it mainly on a technical level, and I knew that I would need a second viewing. It's the kind of film that's worth more than one viewing in order to ponder the meanings that it has. The second time I watched it, I was very moved by it. Not an unpleasant or mean-spirited or even miserable film to watch, but there is a real sadness in it. It's a very effective and stylish cautionary tale with pitch black humour, but only very occasionally. It's very unnerving, very atmospheric, with a tangible sense of menace, and that's how it is quite reminiscent of some of David Lynch's work as well as, having all the visual splendour that we expect now from Nicholas Winding Refn. It's possibly his masterpiece so far, so highly recommended. Recommended for everyone to check out. Can't guarantee you'll like it. It's sure to be divisive, likely to be a love or hate film. There won't be much middle ground. You'll likely either love it or hate it. And if you don't love it or hate it on the first viewing, you'll either feel that it's worth a second look, and on the second viewing you'll reassess how you feel about it. No, so it's, definitely a work of art, a film which prompts you to ponder what it's about and how you feel about it, and certainly does provoke a strong reaction. I've been Sam Skempton. I hope you enjoyed the talk. If you'd like to see more from this channel, please like and subscribe. Let's keep the discussion going in the comments below, and I'll see you next time here on Film Time.